living longer, living healthier, living better than ever before. Welcome to Mountain Pacific's Healthy Living for Life, a weekly series that gives you the information, education, and expert insight you need to become an active participant in today's ever-changing healthcare climate. Here now is today's program host.
Whether you're the parents, grandparents, or another loved one, welcoming a newborn baby into the family is an exciting time. But it can also be a difficult and challenging time for the mother who is going through a recovery phase and can often experience anxiety and mood disorders. Welcome to Healthy Living for Life. I'm your host, Janet Whitmoyer. Today we'll be talking about postpartum mental health. Stay tuned.
I was the last guy you'd expect to get diabetes. I was a competitive runner and I always took care of myself. So when I was diagnosed, it kind of threw me. But it's really encouraging to know I'm not alone with it. There are a lot of other people going through the same things as I am. It takes some effort. You have to keep after it. Exercise, meds, and diet are the key. But there are a lot of folks who want me to succeed. Diabetes is not the end of the world. With effort and attitude, you can have a normal life.
Gentlemen, this is a secure federal facility. Do you have your Montana Real IDs?
ID. I am Captain Lewis, and this is Captain Clark.
I'm sorry, I can't let you in.
Can't go into a federal facility, can't fly. Let's go back to the river.
Yes, we'll float home. Let me check the Google. What's a dam?
Discover more at mtrealid.gov.
Montana Real ID. It's the real me.
Summer in Montana is a great time to visit your local farmer's market. Enjoy the social atmosphere while shopping for a wide variety of fresh, locally grown produce. Together with both WIC and Senior Farmers Market nutrition programs, you help feed your family 5 or more daily servings of fruits and vegetables for better health. You also help local ag producers and enhance the state's economy. So, for summer fun that's nutritious and helps Montana's economy, shop at your local farmer's market.
The human heart. Even at its strongest, it's a fragile muscle. Chest and arm pain, shortness of breath, are signs of a heart under attack. But 3 numbers can save a life. Dial 911 at the first sign of a heart attack. Quick response from medical experts can save your life.
I was 45 and it happened to me, a heart attack.
Dialing 911 saved Ryan's life. Now he's here and he's healthy.
This message sponsored by Mission Lifeline Montana.
Welcome back. Joining me today is Jenna Moore. She is a licensed clinical professional counselor and owner of Courage Counseling, and also with us today is Whitney Mitchell. I'm going to start with you first, Jenna. We know that having a baby is an exciting time for most people, and it's supposed to be full of joy and happiness, but sometimes that's not always the case. Can you start us off first by talking about the postpartum period and what that means for mothers?
Yes. So technically speaking, medically speaking, postpartum is that stage right after a baby's been born to approximately about 6 weeks after baby's been born. But if we're talking about mental health, behavioral health issues, we kind of extend that out to from conception to baby's first year after birth, which we call the perinatal stage. And then the anxiety, depression, these mood disorders that we're talking about, we technically call them, in my world, perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. So, it's this biological, neurological, relational, hormonal change in a person's life that is so intense and such a big adjustment that it's really prevalent amongst most moms and is very important to talk about.
Okay, so you mentioned all the changes that are going on with the moms, but can fathers also experience postpartum issues?
Absolutely. This is an area that we don't talk about as often, the spouses, but it is adjustment for them too. A lot of the parents that I talk to, the spouse is trying to figure out a lot of the same things. How do I do this new reality with this baby? Where is my place in this? What kind of financial stressors, what kind of relational stressors are there? So I want to say that in 2018, the statistics said about 1 in 10 dads or spouses, partners can experience some of these issues.
Okay. So 1 in 10 dads, are the statistics higher for moms, or what's the prevalence of these issues for mothers?
Most current statistics are saying that 1 out of 5 moms reportedly are experiencing some sort of perinatal mood or anxiety disorder, which is a pretty high number.
Yeah, certainly. And we know that newborn babies can mean lack of sleep for parents, and for moms may not be able to have the time to take care of themselves and eat well. How do these factors affect the mother's well-being in the postpartum period?
I mean, a lot of new parents, especially first-time parents, it's baby first. If there's time for me, wonderful. So this is a tough one because this is one of the easiest ways to reduce or treat these issues is to take care of oneself. To have a healthy foundation for you is integral in having a healthy baby. Of course, babies don't always cooperate with sleep. We know that. There's the reality. But sleep deprivation is really, really dangerous and really concerning, especially if you're demonstrating any symptoms of anxiety, depression, can be completely exacerbated by some of these things that we can take care of. So a lot of times when I meet with new parents, especially in the pregnancy stage, I have them come up with a plan for sleep. And that means if you're not getting more than 4 hours of consecutive sleep, you need to work together. So I encourage parents to make that a priority, even though we do have the reality of a needy baby.
Okay. So what kind of treatment options are there for women and families who are struggling with postpartum mental health issues?
There's several. I'm a big proponent of psychoeducation.
Okay.
So for a lot of my parents that come in, this is really preventative, of course, but really educating themselves on the signs and symptoms of these issues. That way, when they are going through this journey of parenting and these things start to pop up, they're not thinking, what's wrong with me? I must be a bad parent. The many array of things that we can think, but really, oh, hey, this is a sign of some of these issues. We need to take care of it right away. So psychoeducation is really important. Another modality of treatment is support systems, also preventative. When I meet with parents, I say, hey, who are your support systems? You know, a lot of people are very fortunate to have family members at their disposal that want to help, that can help, but there's a lot of people that don't. So I encourage people to be vulnerable enough, challenge themselves enough to find a support person, whether it's through a church or it's through a mom's group or community resources such as Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies, something like that. Because on week 5 of baby crying, you do need someone that you can call just for that help and that support to really take care of you and baby.
Okay.
And then there's a bunch of other modalities of treatment, of course, therapy. I'm biased, but it can be very helpful for parents when they are, possibly nervous or scared about the judgment of these issues. I can go to a therapist and be able to have a safe place for that.
Okay. And so just quickly before we run out of time in this segment, can you tell us what some of the common types of postpartum mental health conditions women experience are?
The most prevalent one is actually anxiety. And the obvious symptoms of anxiety is hypervigilance, nervousness about baby, nervousness about the adjustment with baby, difficulty sleeping, the difficulty of being able to relax or to sit down when rest is needed. Second area that's most common is depression, which is this intense sadness, this intense hopelessness, where there's exhaustion, there's maybe tearfulness, lack of desire, lack of energy, lack of interest, even in baby, which of course causes intense shame, intense guilt. And then unfortunately, a lot of people that deal with the depression, we also see suicidal ideation and suicidal thoughts or actions.
Okay.
So those are the two big ones.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Jenna. We need to take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll be visiting with Whitney Mitchell, who is a mother of two, who's going to share with us her experience with postpartum mental health. Stay tuned.
Montanans are independent. We're also responsible, protective, and committed to our families and communities. That's why we've done so well against COVID-19. As we open up, we've got to keep doing what we do best. And it starts with each and every one of us, protecting public health in the 406 for our families, friends, and neighbors. We all have to do our part. Montanans get that. And we've got this.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
If you give or receive care, you already know that it can cause stress on caregiver and receiver alike. The good news is, if you have limited resources, help is available. The Montana Lifespan Respite Program may be able to help you pay for care while you take a break. Even better news is how easy it is to apply. You can get an application online or have one sent to you. We'll get back to you within 5 working days. Respite for caregivers. It's okay to need it. It's okay to want it. It's okay to get it.
Every 65 seconds, someone is affected with Alzheimer's or other dementias. Many become isolated at a time when help is most needed. If you or someone you love is affected, help is available, both for people with memory loss and their caregivers. Memory loss can feel frightening, but you are not alone. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
Welcome back. Whitney Mitchell is here to share with us her postpartum mental health story. Whitney, would you start off by just telling us a little bit about your pregnancy experiences?
Sure. So I've actually been pregnant 3 times. My first pregnancy, I suffered a miscarriage at about 10 weeks, and it took my body about 6 months for my hormone levels to drop to a safe level to try to conceive again and rebalance itself. And then I was pregnant again, and that pregnancy took, and that's when we had our first child in 2017. His name is Archer, and he's 3.5 right now. And then shortly after I finished, about a month after I finished breastfeeding him, I got pregnant again and had Monty 2 years and 10 days after Archer's birth. And Monty is 1.5 years now, but he actually came about 6 to 7 weeks early, and ended up being in a C-section situation. And there was some issues with his lungs when he was born, so they were prepping the helicopter to airlift him to Great Falls, because Helena here doesn't have all the equipment they need for the NICU. And so I was kind of a hot mess, recovering from a C-section. My baby's about to be flown. I hadn't even gotten to see him. It wasn't until he was about 5 hours old that I finally got to see him. And then even then, I couldn't really hold him. He was connected to so many devices. So the good news was he didn't have to be airlifted. He's a fighter, and that's very much his personality still. He is just tough through and through, and he was not going to get on that helicopter. So he started breathing on his own.
Oh, well, obviously your pregnancies have been very different. Can you tell us a little bit about the difference in your mental health between Archer and Monty?
So with having one child, I was able to devote so much of my time and energy and focus to raising him, especially during my maternity leave. I had a 12-week maternity leave with him, and that was just smooth sailing. There weren't really too many issues. There were some tearful days, and he was not the perfect baby, and there were some challenges, but nothing that really brought me down too much. With Monty, because I went into labor so early, I immediately had this guilt, even when I was in the hospital, that I hadn't had my maternity leave plan at work buttoned up and ready to go. So I had this self-inflicted pressure to return to work as soon as I was able, and it turned out to be at 8 weeks I started going back full-time, and then gradually increased that till I was back completely full-time. I went back part-time at 8 weeks and then gradually increased that. I would say hindsight's 20/20, and I went back too soon, and I wasn't able to cope with all the pressures of work and their expectations, as well as being on the home front and having another child who was a toddler. Couldn't understand why I wasn't able to pick him up and be the mother that he was used to. And then I was also not realizing it, still dealing with the emotional trauma that I experienced with Monty's birth. He came early, so I'm a very planned person, and that just threw me for a loop. The C-section threw me for a loop. The fact that he was having troubles, I couldn't see him right away. He was almost airlifted. All of that really messed with me, and I didn't realize to the extent of how much it messed with me until later on.
Okay. And so at that point, or at some point, you decided you needed to get help, and you reached out to Jenna for that help. Can you tell us why you decided to call her, and what surprised you the most about visiting with her?
So I remember it very clearly. I had taken Archer in for a haircut, and he was 2-ish and just did not want to have his hair cut, and I was just flipped. I put him in the car and we drove home, and I might get a little emotional here. And I just started screaming at him. And that was not like anything I'd ever done before as a mother. I know we can all get frustrated and we reach our limits, but I was in a different mindset, and it was unrecognizable, and it was scary to me. And it was at that moment that I knew something wasn't right. However, it was, sorry.
That's okay.
It was 7 months after Monty had been born, and I had been to the doctor for all my regular checkups. And in those appointments, they assess your mental health with this little short questionnaire. And what I knew of postpartum mental health was just about depression. And I didn't really match categorically the symptoms of postpartum depression, but I knew something wasn't right. So I sought out Jenna, and that's when I started learning more about the anxiety that I was experiencing, this desire for perfectionism and control. And there was so much lack of control in my life at that moment. And that was, it was so amazing to have Jenna's help through that process and to help me understand the cognitive component, and that it wasn't my instinctual motherhood skills. It was actually some chemical reactions and things that were firing, neurons that were firing in my brain that were triggering these kinds of reactions.
Well, thank you, Whitney, for sharing such a very personal and emotional situation. We need to take another break right now, but when we come back, we'll be talking more with Jenna about how family and friends and neighbors can help support mothers in these difficult situations. Stay tuned.
I was diagnosed with diabetes in 1992, and I went into denial. It made me angry. I was a professional chef, and I didn't want to change my eating style. It took me a long time to get serious about managing my health. My perspective changed from resentment to one of loving my body, the container for my spirit. Getting help from my diabetes educator supported my goals of improved self-care. I want to feel good and have a great life. My diabetes educator helps me do this.
Every generation produces heroes, men and women who step forward to defend our country in time of need, no matter the personal cost to themselves. And though we can never fully repay them, we can make sure they have access to low-cost, long-term care when they need it. That's what Montana's Veterans Homes are all about. If you've got a hero in need in your family, call us. We can help.
This is Bill. He just received his new Medicare card and is following some simple rules to protect himself from fraud. He knows to never give out his Medicare, Social Security, or bank number over the phone. And this is Nancy. She knows that to detect any problems, she always reads her Medicare summary notice or Medicare Advantage EOB to make sure the billing is correct. Both Bill and Nancy know that anything suspicious can be reported to Montana SMP at 1-800-551-3191.
Montana is a very rural state with very small communities, and I think it's very important that we get it out in those smaller communities that yes, our older adults are having falls. It's very important to prevent these falls, and now we have a program, Stepping On, that can help them with that and teach them to have a better quality of life, live longer independently by themselves or with their spouses. We can use the Stepping On program to help prevent those falls and to make people's quality of life better.
We're back with Jenna Moore, and now, Jenna, I'd like to talk about how family and friends can really support new moms. We know that when there's a new baby, there seems to be a revolving door of people coming in wanting to meet the baby. But can that sometimes do more harm than good for a new mother and father?
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely can. And the key word is unintentionally, right? Yeah. There's a lot of support systems that have well means behind what they're doing, but just take if someone were to have anxiety about their baby, maybe they had some sort of OCD and anxiety combined about germs or the ability to have control with their baby, and someone pops in and gives their baby a kiss, it could just send them over the edge. Like I said, unintentionally. Right. So it's really important to ask parents, how can I help? What is best for you? In what ways can I support you, rather than diving in and making the assumption.
Okay, perfect. As a mom's adrenaline wears off and the reality of being a parent sets in, what should those loved ones around her watch for that might indicate something's a little bit off with them?
There are some obvious ones, there's some unobvious ones. The more obvious ones are if mom or dad is isolating more than usual, having a lack of trust with family members. You notice a increase either in their extreme, like it may be an extreme weight loss or weight gain. If they just seem like they're not themselves after a couple weeks, it's a good indicator to check in.
Okay. And if a family member should notice some of these things going on, how could they approach the situation without making the mom feel, bad about what she's going through?
It's easy to say, hey, you look awful. You need to take care of yourself, right? Yeah. But what we really need is to empathize with the parent, right? Something such as, hey, I can understand or imagine this is a very difficult situation. You're probably exhausted. Is there anything I can do to help? So the way that you communicate with these parents is really imperative so that they feel heard and not victimized or judged.
Okay, that's great advice. And we know right now with this COVID pandemic situation, the physical distancing that needs to occur can probably add another dimension to the problem. So what advice do you have for families for supporting mothers from a distance?
Yeah, this is tough. I mean, this is something that is new for all of us, especially in being able to support families. First and foremost, ask the parents what is helpful to them, right? Everyone's a little bit different on their response to the pandemic, right? But appropriate and respectful check-ins are really important. We have the means through technology to do so, as long as the parents are okay with that. There's also a million things you can do to support families that don't include interaction. Maybe you do some laundry for them, bring them a meal, take their dog for a walk, things that you're giving them that time to focus on their health and baby's health, and doing it in a healthy way. Also, if mom needs to get out, maybe social distancing at a park or meeting her where she's at in a way that's healthy and safe.
I wanted to ask you about the difference really between postpartum mental health issues and what all of us have probably heard about is the typical normal baby blues. Can you help us distinguish what key things we might see that would differentiate those?
Sure, absolutely. So baby blues technically is that couple weeks after baby's been born. The hormonal adjustment, the biological, neurological adjustment at that time is so intense that almost every person's going to have some sort of emotional response. However, if those symptoms prolong after those 2 weeks, those are red flags for more perinatal type issues.
Okay. And if a mother expresses a desire or the feeling that she wants to hurt herself or even her baby, what immediate steps should she or someone who's concerned about her take?
Yes, this is a very important topic. The leading death or maternal death is suicide. So if there is any sort of verbalization of harm towards mom or her baby, immediately take them to the ER.
Okay.
It's very imperative.
Okay, great. And we have about 45 seconds left. So can you tell us any final piece of advice that you would offer moms who feel like they're struggling and might need to or might want to seek help?
Moms, partners, family members, caregivers, anyone that's involved in that life of that person or that baby, really educate yourself on the signs and symptoms of these issues. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I recognize something's off and it's not necessarily my fault. And to know that there is treatment and there are ways to either prevent or to treat what's going on.
Okay. Thank you, Jenna, for being with us, and also you, Whitney, for sharing a very personal story. And also thank you for joining us for Healthy Living for Life. And until next time, stay fit, stay well, and stay healthy for life with Healthy Living for Life. See you next time.
Healthy Living for Life is brought to you by Mountain Pacific Quality Health. We'd love to hear from you. If you have suggestions for future programs, visit our website at mpqhf.org or call us at 406-443-4020. You can also catch us on YouTube by visiting our website and clicking on the YouTube icon. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions.